Hi, my name is Katarina with Libelula's Path. I'm an Akashic record reader, a cosmic channeler, as well as an energy practitioner, and I'm here to tap into the new moon in Leo. And this is on July 24th around 12:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So this will be right in the middle of the day for those in Pacific Standard Time, and Leo isn't coming in full force, full swing as Leo becomes in the season of Leo, I should say, begins on July 23rd. So as I tap into the Leo new moon, there is a lot of strength energy that comes through, which is very normal as or to be expected, I should say, because the lion represents strength, it represents confidence, it represents simplicity and stepping into our power, and tells us and offers the message that often the most simple things are our answers, and to not overcomplicate the answers that we are seeking because they are standing right in front of us. I'll share that as the Mercury in retrograde was approaching, and as the new moon is in the middle of or the beginning of Mercury in retrograde, Mercury in retrograde tends to feel very icky and sticky and emotionally charged. And I myself was feeling that way. And then all of a sudden, I zoomed out of my life and I realized I just have to choose the feeling of abundance. I have to choose the mindset that I attract, I don't chase. I have to embody internal peace. And once I made that shift in my own internal life, I then felt like I had control over my emotion again. So that is what the lion offers. And I'm a Leo myself. I my birthday is July 23rd, so it's the day Cancer turns Leo. So I've always been interested in what Leo has to offer in our life and the collective. So the lion also represents royalty and sovereignty. Feeling like we have control over our lives is something that is such a strong message that comes through right now. Because if you feel like you are a victim to your circumstances, or if you feel like life happens to you, that is when life becomes very strenuous, very hard. But when you step into your own sovereignty, in your own queendom, kingdom, royalty, you are able to express a more centered version of yourself. For when you feel scattered, that is when you tend to come off as chaotic, or there's a part of you that feels like you are not being your authentic self, or you are trying to make yourself smaller for others. And the lion represents feeling like you can be yourself and not being scared of what others think of you, of just simply not caring and simply just being. And the lion energy, Leo energy, often represents that to take care of ourselves is not a selfish act. It is when we choose to actively not help others, is when it becomes self centered in a way. It's when we choose to. This is a complicated topic, and I'm pausing right now because there's a lot of views on what selfish really means. And often, when we are trying to work on ourselves, those who are innate helpers, who are innate givers, we feel so much guilt for putting ourselves first. But what we're really doing is we're working on our energy field in order to give more to others, because it all starts with us. So the question is, what is selfish to you? What do you perceive as selfish? When do you think you are being selfish? And that is very telling regarding your values. That is very telling regarding how you navigate relationships. And that is very telling regarding the programmatic thinking that you may have in your everyday life. So when we choose ourselves, it is not selfish, but instead we can choose to impact and truly change the world when we take care of ourselves. And there's this idea of what self care means. Self care is so broad. Self care is simply the idea that we have to balance give and take. And Leo tends not to be as worried about how other people are going to perceive them if they choose themselves, because choosing ourselves is a radical action. It's an action that society does not always support. And when I say that, it can also feel like there is an idea of society that does support us being selfish, for example, not taking care of our earth, not taking care of our community, that when we come into money, we are not taking care of others, but instead only acting in our self interest. That is what you could label as selfish. But those who are specifically watching this particular channel tend to put others before themselves and tend to have the it comes very natural to you to give. So I am tapping in to offer the message that once I let go of the idea of labeling ourselves as selfish for putting our energy first, for putting our energetic practice, energetic cleansing, our daily routines first, that is actually helping our community more than it is taking away. And when we tell ourselves that we are selfish for taking care of ourselves, or that we shouldn't take a break, or that we shouldn't sit down even though we have so much stuff to do, that is becomes an insidious thought that tends to run our life. And then we constantly feel tired, we constantly feel burnt out, we may constantly feel emotionally unavailable. So with those key items in mind, those key factors in mind, it is, if you can't do it for yourself, do it for others. Meaning, if you can't take care of yourself just for the thought of that you love yourself, do it for the fact that your family, that your partner, that those that you love around you are going to immensely benefit from you taking care of yourself. And that is step one in bringing love back to yourself, because Leo also represents the lone, the the person that walks the solo path, the person that walks by themselves, but also has people to love and take care of. Because lions tend to be communal, but they also are independent. So independence and dependence exist in the same realm and the same field. And Leo shows us a new way of being, because that is what's being birthed right now for this new moon, is offering a new way of moving in through your life and in your relationships. And it's also offering a new way of seeing yourself in relationships, because you may have to redefine what role you play in your relationships in order to balance out this newness that's coming through in your life. Maybe it's time for you to step back in your relationships and focus on yourself, and in simultaneously maybe your relationships are asking you to give more because there's something for you to learn there. I also want to talk about the nature of relationships, and I'm guided to talk about how we tend to overly rely on others to validate our next step, our next action, that we wait for others to tell us how to act or how to change and grow. And that is in itself can be dangerous because then we stop relying on ourselves as our own internal compass. You are your own internal compass. Only you can truly know what's best for you. You can talk to as many people as you would like, and you can listen to as many things as you would like, but the one person who knows you best and knows what's best for you is you. And of course, there are times when we can self sabotage, and those who truly care for us are going to intervene and tell us, hey, like, I see this is happening, and I feel like you are not truly taking care of yourself. That's a situation where somebody can intervene, that is divinely guided intervention for you to step more into yourself. But sometimes there are those who don't always want to see us take care of ourselves because it triggers something in them. It triggers their own idea of what self neglect is, and they want you to feel like you have to work as hard as they feel like they need to. So, when we silence the noise, we are then able to step into a more powerful existence. And I'll also say that Leo has a lot to do with leadership and career. So, what in your life are you taking active action on, and what in your life are you taking a back seat on and maybe could act more upon? There are types of dynamics that we can create sometimes when we don't get the results that we want right away. We can give up, and that is a Leo trait. At times they want more validation right away, and then they don't stick with it in order to see it through. And that can create issues in relationships because when you meet somebody who overly validates yourself, that really, the idea of love bombing, of being super nice, overly complimenting you, sometimes that can be dangerous because the brightest flames burn out the quickest. Meaning, when you connect with somebody and you are immediately in a state of gushing over that person, sometimes that is guidance in itself saying maybe it's time to reel it back, slow down a little bit, and understand how this person truly works in your life, how this person truly works with you and can work in the relationship. And that is also for business ventures because sometimes when it sounds too good to be true, it is true. Meaning, if there's something that aligns perfectly and they want you to sign the contract right now, or they want you to do something right now, it's important to take a step back and pause because that may be a sign for you to say, wait, I need to see every single aspect of this, not just look at it with rose colored lenses. And the idea of wearing rose colored lenses in our relationships is also a Leo trait because Leos are large idealists. They love big, they give big. When they pledge their loyalty to you, they're very all or nothing. And that can create tumultuous situations because sometimes we may not act clearly before we jump into something. And when we do that, it also is a really amazing learning experience for us to understand, oh, okay, so this is something that I tend to do. And so this is coming up because you may be presented with really amazing opportunities, whether it's in career, romance, um, business, platonic relationships. And it may seem really great at first, but it's important to take a step back at that moment and say, well, on a realistic level, does this really serve my higher purpose? And then from there, you can make a more informed decision whether, yes, this is great and this does fit into what I envision for myself in the future. Or it's actually, I need more time to think about this. And this, in conjunction with the new moon in conjunction with Mercury in retrograde, is going to make you feel like you have to make a decision right on the spot, or else that opportunity will never come up again. But in reality, when something is meant for you, it will knock at your door not once, but multiple times until you're able to receive it. And if it only created an opportunity once and it never came about again, that means it wasn't for you and that you weren't meant to take that path. And there's something better for you in the ethers, in source, waiting to be birthed. So, I also, during this time, because Leo connects so deeply to solar plexus energy, working with honey calcite, working with pyrite, working with tiger's eye, and red tiger's eye are going to be really great crystals to work with during this time to meditate with the day before, the day of, and the day after. And I also really recommend cleansing your space during this time, especially because we're calling in newness and we're calling in a new way of being, using some kind of cleansing natural materials such as Palo Santo, the spray, white sage. I also see burning rosemary could be really great during this time because rosemary also connects to the energy of summer and it has a very calming, cleansing, healing energy. And it's important because Leo is so action oriented and it's going to put you in a lot of high functioning situations where you're maybe around a lot of people, you're chatting it up, you are just connecting back and forth. It's also important to balance that with calm, calming peace and taking time and being very intentional about having time by yourself because the lion energy is so independent and it needs both community and community with self. So, think about those factors for this new moon. And I also see working with some essential oils during this time. Bergamot would be really great one to work with to diffuse. You could even make yourself a little roller, go buy a little roll on, or just put in your lotion on top of bergamot. I even see grapefruit being really great to work with, again, in either a diffuser and a lotion, just smelling it, because it's going to heighten the positive qualities of Leo, which is bright and vibrant and owning their energy, owning their power. And the last one for the essential oil edition is tea tree. I see tea tree being very uplifting, vibrant, but also soothing and grounding at the same time. And it also is really good for if you're trying to repel bugs or even like bug bites. So I would recommend using and utilizing those in your rituals or meditation time. And also for those who work with sound therapy, doing some kind of doing the solar plexus bowl, if you have a solar chakra bowl, whether it's a crystal or Tibetan bowl, especially I even see drumming because drumming is a very masculine energy, meaning it's very activating and it will really help feel like you're purging what you no longer desire and bringing in more strength and fortitude in your life. If you feel, especially if you feel like Mercury in retrograde is really draining and taxing on your energy, this new moon will feel like it's going to give you opportunities to have more energy in your life. And I, for for those looking for adding in soothing and natural drinks into their lifestyle, adding in more green tea into your drinks around this time to give you a natural source of energy. For those who like matcha, matcha is really great. I also see having, you could even do like a floral blend of black tea would be really great during this time. Having things that are going to move the chi, move the energy in your body are going to be really great. And I also see on an emotional level, the collective, I see feeling almost like there's this idea of melancholy, kind of like you're remembering past situations during this time. And it's because if you feel like you left a lot of energy in that person, in that situation, or power in that person or situation, there's an ask to call back that energy during this time, doing like cord cutting ceremonies, uh, really being intentional about bringing back all of the energy you feel you gave away is a really big theme because you are meant to feel empowered, you're meant to embody power, you're meant to feel like you are capable of anything. So, I'm going to leave you here with these messages for the new moon in Leo, and I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to these messages. And if you feel guided to like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it, and I appreciate you all.